Hello, Brad. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. Good, thank you. I'm really excited to have you on the pod today. Before we start, Brad, do you have a favorite quote, something that inspires you, motivates you, you would like to share with our audience?
Absolutely. Yes. And thank you so much for having me. I'm really looking forward to our discussion today and, just finding out a little bit more about the community and networking and, of course, learning about everything we can about the music industry and um, just doing business in general. So, yeah, I think, there's a lot of good quotes out there, but one that I really like is by Simon Cowell. It just
Hmm.
says, whatever you do, you're going to have to be patient because it's not going to happen overnight. And if
Mm,
you want to do it well, you've got to learn to be good at it. So, people tell you, to love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. And for me, that has always rang very true. um, I've been in the music industry for over 20 years and I love what I do. I really don't feel like it's work because I'm obsessed with helping independent bands and musicians and just the music industry in general. So,
mm,
however, you do have to be organized and you have to be prepared if you want to make money at it.
mm,
And, I think that's a big part of it that a lot of people overlook or they don't go that much further into that statement and, that working, you know, finding what you do, to be passionate about it and you'll never work a day in your life. That's great. But if you want to make real money at it, you have to be intentional about
yeah,
what you're
yeah,
doing, who you're doing it with, why you're doing it. And for me, that's kind of the secret sauce, is the behind the
yeah,
scenes stuff. Yeah.
definitely, definitely. And sticking to this thought, then, imagine you're in a room of full of founders. There are hundreds of founders waiting for you. You walking into the room, you're got the stage, you got the mic, the spotlight is on you. What would you tell them? What's your story you would tell them to inspire them that they can stick with us for the rest of the hour?
Just start doing something. Like, I used to get in that analysis paralysis, situation where I would read and study and do all this homework and try to get everything behind the scenes done, perfectly before I did something. And I think you do have to do some of that, but you also have to be in execution mode. If you wanna be a
Mm,
founder, you wanna, do something, the amount of time that you waste doing all of that, someone else is already executing and they've, iterated and already adapted, and they're that much further along because they just took action.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's part, Cody Sanchez says this a lot. Alex Hormozy says this a lot, and that has definitely rang very true for me. And that's been my biggest unlock is just to do it. I used to, and then if you fail, you either learn or you fall forward. You don't fall back. Jalen Hurts even has a famous quote says, "We either win or we learn. It's the only two
mm,
options that happen." And that has rang very true for me. It's just all about progressing, putting that puzzle together, having fun, being passionate and obsessed about what you're doing. And if you just don't quit, most others are going to quit. And you have to know that when you want to quit, someone else is pushing through. And if that doesn't motivate you enough, then maybe being a founder may not be for you. But you have to really be obsessed about what you're doing and almost have a delusional mindset, you know, um, because if you want to do extraordinary things, you have to do the extraordinary, task that others will slack off on. And it's
yeah, yeah.
very
And
easy to do that.
and it's been proven by the history also. Like if you look at Twitter, Twitter was started as a podcasting platform, like audio. Have you heard that story?
I have, yes,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
insane,
When Apple launched iTunes podcasting, audio's founders were realized their original model was threatened, right? Employees started experimenting internally, and then with a short messaging service for status update, it became Twitter.
yeah, yeah,
But they started at the right time, and that was one of the things that they did not like give up. They just kept going.
That's
I
right.
guess on top of my head, if I remember, Bourbon was a check-in app similar to Foursquare, where you can just log locations, make plans, and then earn points for checking in. But
Right.
then again, the founders noticed users were mostly sharing photos with filters, and rather than using check-in features, they stripped the app down to focus on the photo sharing. And now
Yeah.
everybody knows it's called Instagram.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And that's the other, just going back to what I was just saying, like sometimes you just have to. I used to have a football coach and he used to say, just run the play, and, you don't know what you don't know until you do it. You can study about it all you want, but until you do it and learn and get feedback, you really don't know what to do. And he had another great one that was called snap and clear. No matter what happens on the play, you have to do the snap, run the play, and then clear like nothing happened before. Whether it was good or bad, you have to be able to clear your mind, start over, and just keep moving. And
Indeed. Indeed.
that's always been very true for me.
So, Brad, tell me more about you. Are you working on something cooler right now, or is there something you would like to be doing in stealth mode?
No, I've been in the music industry for 20 years. Started out as a booking agent with a boutique agency in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I booked about 30 to 35 bands a year. I did that for 8.5 years. So you can do the math, over 200 bands just when I did that. And then I moved to Nashville, Tennessee, and had a client ask me to be his business manager. And that opened up a whole nother ball of wax for me. As a business manager, you're managing every revenue stream for an artist. And, you get into publishing and, of course, marketing and e-commerce. And then I got into consulting and mentorship and all of that for clients that liked what I was doing, but weren't ready for a full-time, professional representation. So started doing a lot more than just booking. And you know, grew like a traditional agency for many
Mm,
years. And COVID definitely, tranquilized that process a little bit. But, started to rebuild. And then I just finally realized I was like, maybe there's a software that can help me run my business more efficiently.
mm,
So I started looking at other softwares for what I needed to do booking and marketing and management, publishing and all of that. And I couldn't find one that did what I needed it to do. Most of the softwares out there just do one of those, and most of them are really just CRMs. So it doesn't actually do anything for you. It just kind of helps you organize it, essentially. But none of them did all of those together. And I was finally like, this model is broken.
mm,
And I can get into all the reasons why it's broken on the agency side and on the artist side. But it's a very inefficient, ineffective model that the music industry has been under for decades. And I was finally like, I'm just going to build my own software. And
mm,
that's what I did. So back in May of last year, I started Music Mogul AI, which is a agentic software that leverages LLMs and agentic AI to automate the booking, the marketing, and the management functions for independent bands, musicians, and DJs. So it's basically taking my 20 years of expertise and workflows and templates, my database, everything, and has put all that into one place. And it's really flipping. I think it's going to completely disrupt the way independent artists do business. It's taking away that commission based model and going to a subscription based model. So
mm,
we don't take a commission off of your shows. You pay us the monthly subscription or the annual subscription fee, and the software works for you 24 hours a day. It doesn't play favorites with other bands on a roster. You get the clarity and the control. It reduces the burnout, saves you time, makes you more money, saves you money, and just does all the things that should be in our industry that are not there today. And
mm,
that's what I wanted to create. And to really just give the power back to the artist and the creators themselves. It's really meant to be a tool, not a replacement. So, I kind of tell people it's like, you can build a house with a hammer and nails, or you could just use the nail gun. Our software is the nail gun. The homeowner doesn't care how the house was built necessarily, they just want it built. So,
Yeah.
if you want to use the nail gun, that's our software. You want to work smarter, work faster, control everything, then that's the way to go for
Take me
me.
through the process then, Brad. Imagine you have so what's your ICP? Tell us more about your ICP. Who is your ideal customer persona?
Yeah, so we have two ICPs actually. We have an ideal client profile on the consumer, what I call the consumer side, which is the independent bands, musicians, DJs. These are artists that, are probably doing like around 50,000 a year in annual just for their live revenue. And we're trying to get them to that, $400,000 a year mark. That's really the lane and the gap that we're filling. We're trying to get, you're not just starting out as a band. You've kind of, you've been doing shows, but you're maybe all artists kind of hit this ceiling because they're wearing so many hats to do all the things in their business. And the margins are really thin. So it's hard to afford to add headcount to your team and and all of that. So that's what this is really designed to do.
Yeah,
So that is one ICP. Our other ICP is booking agencies, record labels, management firms, things of that nature on our B2B side, because there is an enterprise level version to the software. That part is still being developed as well, but we will be licensing it out to them so that they can work faster and more efficient as well. So yeah,
got it.
those are our two.
Perfect. So tell us more about it. Once, let's say we will take one use case here. An artist who makes around $100,000 a year comes to you. He or she is very, very frustrated with the processes they are currently going through, consuming too much time. What is the onboarding process and how does it benefit them and how much money it will save or make them?
Great question. So I'm the founder of Stewart Entertainment Agency, which has been around since 2014. And it is primarily functioning as a consulting and mentorship agency now, where it used to do the booking, the management, the marketing, the publishing, and all of that. We still do some publishing, but we're basically mainly a consulting and mentorship agency. And for me, that is the future of the music industry, is combining the tech that gives you the infrastructure and the systems in place, combined with the human element and the expertise that I have of 20 years and that, my other consultants have to give you that personalized approach. For me, it's the combination of those two that is the secret sauce. That is what has been missing for so long. So, the onboarding process, when we were doing our beta testing with the software, I initially thought, well, the artists are just going to put their stuff in and get going with the software and it's just going to do stuff for them. And the more I talked to my early adopters, they were like, yeah, but we really need your guidance first. They're like, can you look at my website? Can you look at my assets? Can you look at my electronic press kit and my writer? Can you help me get a business plan together? Can you help me find my ICP? Can you help me look at my data and help me understand a game plan around that data? And that's what I've been doing manually for 20 years. So the process, they have the option where they can do the consulting first. We have a small consulting package where we can help you get all that together before you put it into the software. Because if you're not putting your best foot forward to make that good first impression, you're really just running subpar materials at scale now, and you're making a bad first impression. So we really want to offer that to the artists that are serious out there that want to do it right from the start, so that when you get everything into the system, you are putting your best foot forward. So it really starts with that consulting first, so we can get everything together for the software. And then we offer like an ongoing as needed consulting once the software is up and running and you're running things at scale.
Got it. How much money the $100,000 band would save or make if they
Yeah,
use?
great question. Sorry, I meant to kind of circle back to that. So let me put it this way. So for most agencies, we don't get interested in a band until you're usually doing at least like $150,000 to $200,000 a year. and your live revenue grows. Okay. Because we get paid a percentage off of that. It's usually 10 to 15, maybe sometimes 20% if you just don't have any of the pieces to the puzzle together, but it's typically 10 to 15%. Let's say you got an agency, and well, I'll say this, even to get on an agency, we want you to have a manager and a publicist and a record label and a distributor. And we want to make sure that your new product that's coming out, that we're at the right phase of the product cycle, because we want you to have a publicist that's going to be promoting those dates that we're going to be putting our name and our butts on the line for you for. We want to make sure. So all the stars have to align even to get on with an agency. And a lot of artists never even make it to that point because they don't align all of those things together. But let's just say you did, and you did everything right, and you got a deal on an agent or an agency. Let's just say you got them you did the best you could do, and you got them at 10%, and you're doing 100,000 a year. That's only $10,000 for us to book your band for an entire year. That is not a living wage, and not only that, but we have other bands on our roster. And if you're not at the top of that roster, as far as income goes, then a lot of agencies will play favorites. So there's conflicts of interest, so to speak. And that's why I was like, this is just broken for the agent side and for the artist side. So, but let's just say you got on with an agency, you did 100,000, you paid them $10,000 for the year. Our software is able to give you the booking agent, the marketing agent, the management agent, and the consulting for an entire year for $10,000. I mean, so the savings are, not only are you saving from our research and our beta testing, we're saving artists about 20 hours a week just in their time, not to mention how much money we're saving just in your time alone. And so our software is a human in the loop style software. So it's not just sending out slop and, automated messages and bots and that stuff. You still get to approve all of the activity. And the software is designed to where you can manage your business because there's 3 agents in the software, the booking agent, the marketing agent, and the management agent. You spend 20 minutes a day per agent, 1 hour a day, it can run your business because you're basically spending 20 minutes a day per module or per agent approving the activity to make sure it matches your sound, make sure the data is correct or it's quoting the right stuff or what, but it's developing all that so that you're just doing the approval process the same way you would as if I were your booking agent. We would be doing a phone call manually. I would be giving you the offers. You would be approving the details of it, but you can do this in your pajamas now. So.
What's the can you give us a sense of the size of the business, where you are in terms of revenue, number of customers, size of team, etc.?
Yeah. So I used to have a marketing director, an office manager, and about 5 or 6 agents usually at one time. I've let them go because the software can do everything that they were doing. And we don't need to babysit anymore. The software is able to do that for them. So I have about 5, growing to 10 other consultants that we are about to bring on because this is about to start running at scale for us. The software is technically in beta testing, but will be released, slated for mid-February. So we are pre-revenue at the moment, but that is about to change because we're at the very tail end of everything. So this is brand new. This is a first of its kind software that I believe is going to revolutionize the way music business is done.
Have you ran a beta trial with any customers or your consulting,
Yes,
clients?
absolutely. So I've been doing consulting for over 15 plus years now. And I've been getting feedback from them on, like I know what their numbers look like and I know what their needs are and I know what the agency side is. So I have a bird's eye view. I've seen all these other teams and managers and artists and worked with them to see what works for them and what doesn't. I've seen this for 20 years and that has been a lot of my research has been my experience as far as
What
building
about
it.
if you could share numbers? So you have run a a POC, let's say proof of concept with one of your clients. What was the numbers looking before and after implementing your software? What was the increase or decrease or saving?
So the biggest um, impact so far has been the amount of time saved. Like I said, it's on average is saving artists 20 hours a week. And that in itself is huge. Now, we are still working on our case studies as far as the revenue side because it just takes time for the bookings to happen and the merchandise sales and all that to come in. So I will definitely keep you posted on that. I don't want to speak too soon. I can estimate that kind of stuff if you like, but I don't have that data to disclose at this time because we are still in that beta, you know, phase testing of everything. 20 hours a week is huge,
It
even
is
if it
here.
doesn't make
It's,
you any more money. Saving 20 hours a week by giving you the database with the email address and the capacity and the genres and making that searchable, doing the outreach, the follow ups, doing a digital contract. Our software even creates a digital poster for that event for you. It schedules out your social media post. It grows your email newsletter. It helps you get more trackers on bands in town. It generates more merch sales. It advanced the dates for you. Like all of that alone is hard to quantify at this point as far as how much, revenue, and expenses that is
I mean, I
generating.
can see it clearly. I'm a numbers person, so that's why I always talk
Yeah.
about numbers because nobody can lie about numbers, right? The example we have taken is $100,000 a year. If I calculate it annually, the work week is 40 hours a week. I don't know. It is 38 in UK, maybe 38, 40 hours in US, right?
Right.
52 weeks in a year. So if you multiply 40 by 52, comes somewhere around 2000 50, 60 hours a year. That
Right.
tells me if I'm making $100,000 with 2,000 hours, it's approximately $50 per hour, right?
Right.
So if I am saving 20 hours every week, it's simple multiplication. 50 into 20, it's almost $1,000 every single week, which saves me $50 to $1,000 in a year.
And not only that, but when you start outsourcing and adding headcount to your power team, what I call your power team, you lose visibility, you lose control, and you get conflicts of interest. And so to not have any of that in itself is worth at least $10,000 a year.
Yeah. Less headache.
It just
Mm.
is. And, $10,000 to a hobbyist or someone who's doing this as a side hustle, that sounds like a lot of money, right? But if you
Yeah,
look at it from a
I'm sure. I'm sure nobody does music as hobby and make $100,000, right?
right, right. But if you look at it
Yeah.
from a business standpoint, $10,000 to run your business for an entire year is nothing,
Mm,
especially when you look at the control and the visibility and the clarity you get. And so this is one of the best things about it. I've taken artists from that level to that 400 plus $1,000 a year level, right? Artists are really bad about keeping up with their data and organizing it. Their creative side, and they don't like to think much about spreadsheets and numbers and metadata and A B testing and all that stuff, right? That's just not why they got into the business. Our
yeah.
system helps you to organize all that because once the software gets you to that $400,000 a year mark, you're going to have agents reach out to you because we see who's selling tickets. We see the data. We're talking to the clubs all the time. We ask them who's doing well for you. Who's easy to work with. That kind of stuff. When you're doing those kinds of numbers, the agents are going to be reaching out to you. And they're going to say, "Hey, we really like to work with you." You as the artist can then say, "Well, I have a system that's I control. It works 24 hours a day for me specifically. I've got a system in place that's gotten me to this amount. What are you able to offer me that my system isn't already doing?" And the only
Mm,
thing they can answer with is strategic partnerships. They may be able to put you on as support with a larger band. They may be able to plug you in here and there, But you can make that decision at that time. But you're in the driver's seat to have that negotiation, which is something that hardly any artist ever gets. And if you don't have your data to stand on in an organized fashion and manner, it's hard to get a booking agent or a record label because we look at data.
What are you going to call it?
What, the software?
Hmm.
Music
The
Mogul
platform.
AI.
Music Mogul AI. Is it
Yep.
live now, or is it about to go into
It's
beta phase?
technically still in beta testing, but we are slated for a mid-February launch
Okay.
for um, the consumer side. Maybe another month before we get to the B2B enterprise level of the software. But we're really testing it to get feedback from all of our users. I currently have over 80 users at the moment. Some of them are small agencies. Most of them are independent artists. We wanted to try and keep that small so I can interact with all of them and get that feedback on a personal level so that we can, refine everything. And once this is released, it's going to snowball very quickly. We even have like a custom GPT that lives inside the dashboard that is strictly based off the music industry. Like we have fed it and educated it on everything that I have learned and, all of my workflows and everything. And it's fantastic, but we even have an affiliate program, if they like what the software is doing and they want to share their affiliate link and someone signs up with that, then you can get up to $50 off a month for up to 3 subscribers every month. So, our agents, if you want to break it down, we do have smaller packages. Each agent is either $300 a month or $3,000 a year. So if you
Mm.
do the monthly, it's $300 a month. If you did the affiliate link and you had 3 subscribers because you were just sharing our information, you could essentially get a booking agent for $150 a month.
Mm. Tell me a little bit more about you, Brad.
Hmm?
Have you always been a technical person?
I have always loved tech. Yes. And, I'm always looking for ways to leverage technology to work smarter. It's just how my brain works. I look for inefficiencies all the time, and technology helps us do that when it's done right. And, you know, but yeah, at the intersection of media, live music, consulting, and technology is where I have always lived for sure.
Okay.
And I'm not a developer. I do know some coding and I can kind of push my way through that stuff, but it's not my main skill set. So I've hired some of the best developers in the world that are out of Silicon Valley. These guys have scaled and exited multiple 7 and 8 figure businesses, and they've helped me kind of, test my idea and um, help me find, my go to market strategy. They have the developers as well, and we're all working together to create a truly unique, first of its kind software and product to help independent artists, which is really what I've always been passionate about.
Great stuff. Well, Brad, I wish you very good luck with your venture. We are heading towards the end of our pod. I've got 6 quick fire questions for you.
Okay.
At any instance, if you think you don't want to answer one of them, just give me a skip and then we can move on to the next one. How does that
Okay.
sound?
Sounds good.
Great stuff. What are the top 3 strategies to generate leads in music industry in 2026?
Great question. The top 3 strategies are to make sure that you have all of your assets in place. You have to have a website, you have to have socials. For the booking side, it's live, high quality keywords, high quality live video footage of you performing in front of a crowd. I can send a CD to a buyer all day and they'll say, Brad, I love you, man. You always send me good bands, but I can't really make a decision until I see how the band is performing. I need to see live video because that is what they're buying. They're not buying an album. They're buying the
Mm,
live show. So we as agents, we have to give them an exact representation of what they're going to get with that money. They're investors. We need to show them and they need to be able to show the owner, this is what the band sounds like. This is what the vibe of the crowd is. We need to show them exactly what they're getting. So that is critical. So getting all of your infrastructure together, getting that live video footage, because not only is that your commercial and your calling card and helps you get your foot in the door, but the club is then going to use that video to make sales for the tickets. They're going to share it on their website and their newsletter. So if you don't have a high quality video showing what you do, they're not going to create that video for you. You have to give them the right tools to be able to do the job, just like us with an agent. So that is critical, is to have all of your infrastructure set up, have your high quality videos. And the third part is the marketing behind it. Music is subjective. If it was all about technicality, you would see like opera singers and classical guitarists at the top of the charts, because they're some of the most technically capable and advanced musicians out there from a
Yeah.
technicality standpoint and a skill standpoint. But that's not what we see, because music is subjective. And I've always told, bands that marketing is the reason why a lot of great bands don't make it. And it's why a lot of crappy bands do make it. So
Indeed.
if you miss out, and that's why I wanted to bring, the booking, the marketing, and the management together in one platform, because if one of those three is off, the other two suffer. It's
Yeah.
all interconnected. And
Yeah.
so that is the third pillar that you have to have.
Great stuff. What book would you recommend to our audience and why?
Man, I've read a lot of good ones lately. Honestly, I think Atomic Habits is fantastic. It's a very popular book, but the whole premise behind the book is that you try to improve 1% every day. It's the small incremental measures and the systems that you put into place that are going to give you the largest results. There's kind of a graphic, like with the ladder, when you're climbing a ladder with different rungs, if you space the rungs out too far, it's hard to reach.
Yeah.
Can you get there? Yeah, it's going to struggle. You're going to struggle to get there. But if you put the rungs closer together, then it's a very easy system and easy way to progress. I think the book says, you can improve by 37% in a year if you just increase your output 1% a day.
Yeah. What one attribute or characteristic in your mind of a successful musician?
The characteristics that you want to have is, in marketing, we call it experiential marketing. And it's really about creating an experience for the customer and for that audience. When they're listening to your music, who are you trying to target? What are their attributes? And then not only that, but when they get to your show, what do you want them to feel at the show? How do is it a family environment? Is it, a dancing kind of environment? Is it an emotional connection, like a singer songwriter? Like, what is it that you want them to feel at the show? And most importantly, what do you want them to walk away with? When they leave your show, what do you want them to remember you about? And for me, if you can nail that down, you are creating a real community. You don't need a whole lot of fans to create a sustainable living in this business. You really only need like a few thousand people that are, but if they're engaged and they're kind of, what we call a super fan, they will support you for a long time. Especially if they feel like you are speaking to them and you are providing a soundtrack to their life. That
Mm.
is critical.
What's your favorite personal productivity tool or habit?
Favorite productivity tool or habit? You have to, on a simple level that doesn't cost anything, is making sure you have a calendar and you're sticking to it. If you don't put it, like for me, if I don't put it into my calendar, it doesn't happen. And if I find myself getting distracted and it's not something on that calendar, then I know that every bit of noise is distracting me from my goal. And if you look at it through that lens, to me, that's how I'm able to do that 1%, incremental progression myself. I've been doing this for many years. You have to have some structure. You know, I spend my weekends planning ahead. During the week, it's all about execution. Try to make a list of things to do that didn't get done from the day before at night before I go to sleep. So my brain will turn off. I have a really hard time with that. Um, and then, planning out your week ahead in advance. I usually do mine on Sundays because I feel like it's just less stress and I kind of have some clarity to look at my business plan. If you don't have a business plan as well, you can be busy and not be going in the right direction. Your business plan helps you stay on path and gives those guardrails for your business. And that's why I have been so adamant about creating those for the bands we work with. Most of them
Got
do
it.
not have a business plan. And, just writing it down, you're 50% of the way there, but you have to write it down and be intentional and very specific about what you want. So for me, those are crucial habits.
Got it. What's a new or a crazy business idea you would love to pursue if you had time?
A new and crazy business idea. I have a couple. My developers were like, "You have to focus, Brad. You have a lot of good ideas, but we got to stay focused on some of this." One of the ideas that I have is a feature that I want to add to this software is a publishing agent. So instead of it's the same process when you do publishing. We're just reaching out to music supervisors and creative directors and that kind of stuff to pitch our songs, the artists that we represent in their catalog. You're taking their songs and you're pitching it to them for placements for licensing and synchronizations and films and commercials and things of that nature. The process is the same as the booking process. It's just a different subset of contacts, but it's still basically the same thing. Instead of selling the live show, you're selling the songs. So adding that into Music Mogul AI is something that I wanted to do that I was not able to fully integrate because we had to focus on the top three that are going to be the most influential. But I'm talking with a couple other companies that do sync licensing and that are able to get the briefs and everything from the music supervisor. So I may not have to build that in directly. We may just have an API that works with their website. And that's something that we're looking to integrate as well. So that's one. There's another really cool thing that's going around right now that it's like a magazine booth. It's kind of like a photo booth, but it's much bigger. But it looks like a magazine cover, and they're doing these at weddings and concerts and conferences and things of that nature. But like, let's just say I have a template that looks like Billboard magazine,
Mm,
right? And I go to a conference and you're able to take a picture where it looks like you're on Billboard magazine. And we charge you a certain amount of money to do that, you know, but we put them at the shows, at the events for the artist, or something of that nature. It could be Rolling Stone magazine, whatever. You could put whatever you want on there. But for your fans, they're taking off huge at weddings right now, for the guests to be able to take photos and it looks like they're on a magazine cover. There's lines, you know, that are people are just waiting for you to take their money for that. And I feel like, you can get these things for like $1,000 or $2,000. It's not a lot of money. You just go and
mm,
set it up and you charge people and you take the photo and you send them the file. And that's just another revenue stream that helps to create what I just called, the experiential marketing. You're creating that environment and that, they're getting a memento that maybe you charge them $10, to take the picture with the thing. You know what I mean? If you're playing a venue with, 200 people and let's just say half of them did that, I mean, you've already paid for the entire investment in the first show.
yeah,
Everything, after your second show, you're making money. It's pure profit. You're already there. Just set it up.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I'd be happy to, send you guys a link or post that in in the comments of, this video, for that. But, there's so much opportunity out there. And if you start looking for opportunities, I don't know, everything looks like nails and you're just the hammer. And that's how my brain works anyway.
Cool. And last but not least, what's an interesting or fun fact about you that most people don't know?
Interesting fun fact about me. You asked me if I like tech earlier. I'm a huge drone enthusiast. I'm real
Mm,
big into the FPV drones. I learned during COVID, I learned how to build them, learned how to solder and program the open source drones. So, the Mavics and the DJIs of the world, those are closed source. They're like iPhones. You can't really do much with those. But the drones that are open source are more like the Android. So you can buy a flight controller and a speed controller and get your motors and build it all and program it yourself. And when it crashes, which is going to happen, you just replace the motor or replace the flight controller or the speed controller, you solder it back up and you get back in the air. You don't have to send it off to DJI and wait a few months. So I got into that and even started shooting drone footage for festivals and concert series and weddings and things of that nature. That's what I was doing during COVID. I have a son who's now 15, but we were really big into remote control cars and trucks, and then got into drones, and the obsession took off during COVID because I had a bunch of time on my hands. So
Awesome. That's great. That's great. Well,
yeah.
Brad, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story. If people want to check out the platform, the software, if people want to get in touch with you, but what's the best way to do it?
Yeah. So musicmoguLAI.com is the main site for the software. And then stewartentertainment.net is the site for our consulting and mentorship services. I
Mhm.
do run both of those, and they can function independently, but they're designed to work together. So, we have a lot of artists that say, well, I've already got a booking agent and a manager and a publicist. I just need someone to help me, put a business plan together and help me, do certain functions. And we can certainly do that. But, it's designed to be scalable with whatever structure you have in place. So those are the main two sites that I highly recommend everyone go to check out. Music Mogul AI. We even give you a 14-day free trial, not just to one agent, but to the full stack of software. So you get the booking agent, the marketing agent, and the management agent for 14 days to test it, to see if you like it, and there's no credit card needed up front for that, at least at the moment. Anyway, I'm being told that we should be getting that, and then uh, having to cancel. But I really just want to get feedback from everyone. This is a new software. We are completely flipping that entire commission model upside down. And that's the other part that I meant to say when you went back to the numbers. When you go back to the $100,000, once you get over $100,000, you get to keep all that money that you would normally be paying a percentage to an agent. We don't take that. So, our software can do so much for you for the same price. And then once you get over that $100,000 mark, you're really making money. You get to keep all that. So yeah, that's highly recommend everyone at least give it the 14-day free trial. And then, like I said, if you when you fill out the form, it gives us a bunch of information about you and your band, and that kind of directs us on how we can put a bespoke structure and offer together for you, whether that's with or without the consulting, and what components of the software are going to work best for you.
Got it. Got it. Brad, thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your inspiring journey and the impactful work you're doing for musicians. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on Founders Podcast.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.